Welcome, everybody, to the Keto Edge Summit, where we are dispelling the myths, helping you overcome the hurdles, and empowering you to improve your brain and your body through the ketogenic lifestyle. And I've got a great guest with me today, a good friend of mine, somebody that I work closely with. This is Melissa Nohr. Melissa is a board-certified holistic health practitioner. She's a researcher. She's a writer for drdavidjockers.com. She also formerly was an attorney. She's a wife. She's a mother of four, two sets of twins. We have a lot in common there because I've got twins as well. And she was formerly an attorney, and then she had her own health struggles, got really passionate about health, and she became a certified holistic health practitioner through the Institute for Integrative Nutrition in New York. And she works with me at my clinic, Exodus Health Center in Kennesaw, Georgia, as well as through drdavidjockers.com. She's one of our lead researchers and writers. So the content we put out, she really helps a lot with that. And she also loves doing shopping tours and working with people individually and in small groups, really showing them how to apply the strategies we're talking about in this Keto Edge Summit. And so we're going to get into that in detail today. In fact, I told her I want her to kind of give us, in a sense, with her own narrative, like a little shopping tour for us. Right, Melissa?
That's right. And I'm excited to be here. I love to lead shopping tours. I led one yesterday, and I'm excited to share a shopping tour with everyone today.
All right. Fantastic. And share your story really about how you went from being an attorney and a full-time mom to now getting into health coaching and really helping people all around the world improve their health.
Well, I had the struggles that I actually see in a lot of my clients now. I was an attorney, a litigator, a high-stress career in the courtroom quite a bit. And then I had two sets of twins. And I think all of the stress combined just really took a toll on my body. And I really suffered from a lot of gastrointestinal issues and a debilitating fatigue where I would have to get my little two from preschool and put them in front of Clifford and go up and lay down. And that's how bad it was. So I sought answers from countless specialists, every type of specialist I could think of. They would send me to another doctor, just never could come up with an answer. And so I actually became a client of yours. That was probably 10 years ago. And that's when I really started learning about the nutrition, and food is actually having the ability to help us heal. And that was all new to me because I just looked at, I actually had a very disordered relationship with food. I had an eating disorder for a number of years, which I'm sure contributed to all of my health issues. So it was just a whole new way to look at food. And I decided that to study nutrition, go back to school, see what I could learn. You know, my type A personality, I wanted to help myself because I wasn't getting any answers, and I was just spending thousands of dollars on tests and doctors. And so I went back to school, totally changed the way I ate, took a lot of supplements to help my body heal. And I'm just happy to say that I'm not on any medications. I feel great. I have energy to be with my kids. I think clearly. I research, I write, I love my job. It's just a total turnaround for me. So I'm very passionate about helping other people just overcome their struggles. And I hear my story in so many people, and I can just offer hope because I know it can be done.
That is so awesome. And I know just with your background, having two sets of twins, my twins are, you know, the first 2 years, I mean, it was just so tough with my guys. And I know my wife, we both struggled with just lack of sleep and just kind of, you know, they compete so much. And so they just need so much attention and just can be obviously so draining. And there's a lot of moms that are listening that I'm sure can relate. Although twin moms, I think, have a totally different case, but nevertheless, I think a lot of moms with young ones can really relate how that's just
absolutely
a constant stressor that's just draining you. I mean, you love your kids, but it's just this constant stressor that drains you. And so, you know, you're really putting back the pieces, and it took you years to really overcome a lot of these issues that you were dealing with. And
it did.
Yeah. And now you're helping people with that. And so I know you love doing shopping tours. And so what are some of the big shopping mistakes that you see people making when they're going to the grocery store?
I would say the biggest mistake I see people make is believing labels, because a lot of labels you see in the grocery store, it will say all natural or paleo, or, or I'm sure there's going to be a lot of keto friendly as, ketogenic diet really gets more and more popular. But if you actually look at the ingredient list, there are additives and preservatives and sugars and just a lot of things that you don't want in your body. So the biggest thing I would say is don't trust labels and always look at the ingredients. There's almost 4,000 FDA approved additives. And so there's just all kinds of stuff that they put in food, and you really have to be aware of that. And another mistake I see is people thinking that frozen food is not a healthy option. And I can tell you, as a mom of 4, if I didn't have a big freezer stocked with organic vegetables and fruits, it would really be hard to feed my kids healthy, because I'm working and I get home late, and to have the convenience of frozen vegetables is just amazing. So I always encourage people, buy frozen. Now I've seen frozen organic riced cauliflower, and I was so excited to see that, because that can be time consuming to, use the colander or, and get the cauliflower ready to rice it and then cook it and all that. So if it's already riced, you can just put it in a dish with a little bit of water, steam it a little bit, and it's, ready to go. So a lot of convenience, and, it's just as healthy. And berries are another thing, frozen berries. I actually prefer frozen in my smoothies because it gives it that icy texture. So I always encourage frozen fruits and vegetables. And I guess another big mistake I see is with purchasing meats. A lot of people get keto kind of confused with Atkins, and Atkins really didn't differentiate between types of meats. And a lot of people think, well, they can just load up on bacon and, conventional bacon, conventional red meats. And those are, those animals are fed GMO feeds. They're pumped with antibiotics and hormones, and it's just really unhealthy to consume those meats. So you always want to look for grass-fed beef, bison, lamb, pastured chicken, pastured eggs, and wild-caught salmon. I love to show people salmon when I do my shopping tour, because if you look at the farmed Atlantic salmon, it's kind of this light pink, looks foggy almost. And then you look at the wild caught salmon, and it's this beautiful red, and it just looks bright. It looks cleaner. And it's really interesting to compare side by side, and you can just see which one's more healthy. So those are the biggest mistakes I see people make.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, with the wild caught salmon, they're eating that red algae, which is rich in the astaxanthin, which gives them the pink color. And the farmed salmon, they don't eat that. They just basically eat genetically modified corn and soy and anything that the farmer can get really cheap. And then in order to make them pink, they actually put in a synthetic dye, basically astaxanthin synthetic, so you don't get the same benefits. And that's a really key point, because we look at salmon, it's the strongest species of fish. It swims upstream against the rapids, right, against the current, and can literally jump 15, 20 feet out of the water. I mean, the level of strength that it has to be able to do that is incredible. Right. And that's the advantage. You're consuming these omega-3s, astaxanthin, all these powerful compounds, really, really great mitochondrial compounds in the wild-caught salmon. The farm salmon, they're just like sitting there in a little pond eating all day, and so they're not gaining that strength. They don't have that.
Right. Very little movement.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wanted to touch on frozen as well. When I was in my undergrad in college, I actually worked at Publix, which is a grocery store, and I worked in the frozen food department for a little bit. And I thought the frozen food actually was really healthy, because if you go through there and you're looking at the prepared meals, everything is, marketed for health. It's Smart Ones, Weight Watchers, a Hungry Man, all kinds of stuff like that. And it's all really, really toxic. But you're so right in the sense that, like, those vegetables and the fruit, they freeze it at the peak of ripeness. Right. And so they kind of preserve the freshness and the nutrient density in there, as opposed to if you were to buy something out of season. You're actually not, if you're buying it fresh, berries, for example, in the winter, out of season, you're really not getting the same level of nutrient density as if you were to buy berries in the summer or frozen berries in the winter. So that's a really, really good point.
Well, and they're a lot more expensive. Strawberries in the winter can be very expensive, but if you buy them frozen, you get a much better price. And I'm always, trying to help people with the cost, because it can be expensive to shop the way that we're talking about. But if you're smart about it, you really don't have to see a huge grocery bill. And with 4 kids, I'm always considering the grocery bill. I've got 2 teenage boys, so that's a big deal for us.
That is, absolutely. You can really relate, obviously, because you're trying to feed your family, and definitely the cost can add up. So I know for my family, we try to buy like stuff that we're using regularly. We'll try to buy in bulk. That's typically one of the things that we'll do in case quantities and whatnot. And I'm intrigued by the cauliflower rice. I haven't seen that in the frozen department. So that definitely is a time saver right there. So what are the foundational foods that we should be consuming on a ketogenic lifestyle?
Okay, well, the largest percentage, about 60 to 80% of your calories are going to come from healthy fats. And that's things like avocados, coconut, anything coconut. Coconut's wonderful. Olives and olive oil, things like that. And then the next category is protein. And as I was just talking about, the clean proteins, and that's usually going to be between 10 and 30% of your calories. And then about 5 to 10% will be carbohydrates, and you always want the non-starchy carbohydrates. And it really just depends on how well people do with carbohydrates and protein as to the percentages.
Yeah, absolutely. And so when we're looking at fats, obviously it's making up 70 to 8% of our calories. What are the best fats people should be using? What fats should they definitely avoid?
Okay, well, I always tell people, think about olives, avocados, and coconuts and their oils. So those are all just very healthy fats. Coconut oil, everyone pretty much knows now that it's got the healthy saturated fats in it, MCTs. So it's just a great, which are medium chain triglycerides. It's just a great healthy fat. And there's so many coconut products. Fortunately, I love the taste of coconut. So I love it all, but there's a coconut butter that's just delicious, melted over vegetables. There's coconut oil, coconut flakes. You can pretty much find anything coconut. You can cook with coconut flour. Avocados are excellent. I try to eat one every day. My teenagers love guacamole, so I'm always making guacamole for them. But avocado oil is great to cook with because it's got a high smoke point. Olive oil does not have a high smoke point. Olive oil is best for cold uses, like over salads, or once your food is cooked, then you can drizzle the delicious olive oil over it. So that's the way I encourage those. Other healthy fats come from animal fats, of course, the grass-fed beef. If you're getting the fat from the conventional beef, then that's toxic. So you want the grass-fed beef. And then salmon has a lot of healthy fats. So those are all great sources. The things you want to stay away from are trans fats. And you can always, even if it says 0% trans fat, it could still have trans fat. And so you want to look for partially hydrogenated oil or hydrogenated oil, and then that will tell you that there are trans fats in there. Margarine is always going to have trans fat. I mean, that's just, you always want to go with butter. Grass-fed butter is a very healthy fat, and ghee. Grass-fed cheeses have healthy fats, but you want to stay away from margarines, and any type of processed oil is unhealthy, such as vegetable oil. Those oxidize very quickly when exposed to heat, air, or light, and that promotes free radicals. So, it's very discouraging to find out that all these oils that I thought were healthy, because they say vegetable oil, well, how could that be unhealthy? But it's not healthy. So vegetable, canola, grapeseed, those types of oils you want to stay away from.
Yeah, absolutely. Basically, anything vegetable wise other than avocado oil, olive oil, maybe a little bit of flax oil, possibly just in small amounts, but you never want to cook with it. That's for sure. And all those toxic canola oil, cottonseed oil, and you see those everywhere, right?
Right. Everywhere.
Biggest places you see in processed foods, of course, right? But also
salad dressings.
Yes. Yep. Salad dressings, mayo, stuff like that, mayonnaise, different condiments. So you got to really watch out for that. Absolutely.
Right.
And getting a lot of those good plant-based fats, like you were talking about olives, avocado in there, or grass-fed butter. I always tell moms that, because when they tell me things like my kids won't eat vegetables, I always say, well, you just didn't put enough grass-fed butter.
Right,
Enough of that
exactly.
on there, right? And it's really, really good. And so let's talk about fruits and vegetables. On a ketogenic lifestyle, obviously we want things that are going to be low glycemic. So what are going to be the best fruits and vegetables to really focus on?
Well, for fruits, you always want to think about things like lemons, limes, berries, strawberries, blueberries, blackberries. They all, and like a quarter cup a day, not a ton, but I like to put them in my smoothie in the morning. So just a few berries a day. Granny Smith apples are awesome. They're lower in glycemic index than the other apples you can find. You can have a quarter of a grapefruit a day. Those are the main fruits. For vegetables, you've got such a huge selection of vegetables you can have on the ketogenic diet. That's what makes it easy to do for a lot of people, because there is such a variety of green vegetables you can choose. And I always like to help people with how you would use them. So one way to think about it is like vegetables that you can roast, like broccoli and green beans, asparagus, Brussels sprouts, all of those you can put in the oven, roast them with some coconut oil, and it really brings out their natural sweetness, and it's very satisfying. And for some things that you can use as alternatives to pasta and grains, things like spaghetti squash. That's one of my all-time favorite vegetables now, because I can put that with any of my favorite sauces, and it's low glycemic and just delicious. And other things you can use are cauliflower, like we were talking about earlier. You can rice the cauliflower and use that instead of grains for curry dishes or, other meals. So those are some of my favorite vegetables. Of course, your leafy greens are all included for salads. You can saute kale or Swiss chard. Those are delicious sauteed. Pour some olive oil over it after it's been sauteed. So those are some of my favorites, but there's a lot of vegetables. Summer squashes are another one you can have on the ketogenic diet. So a lot of variety. You just want to stay away from the ones that are higher in carbohydrates.
Yeah, for sure. And so, those cruciferous vegetables, they're just loaded with nutrients, have a lot of good prebiotic fiber, because oftentimes on a ketogenic diet, people are like, well, where do I get my fiber? Well, cruciferous vegetables have tons of fiber, very little net carbs. And the net carbs are basically your total carbs minus fiber. So whatever's left is going to impact your blood sugar. Fiber is not. So if something has 10 grams of total carbs, 5 grams of fiber, it's got 5 grams of net carbs. So you're going to find that those cruciferous vegetables, those dark green leafies, really, really low in net carbs.
Right.
And tons of fiber in there to help with bowel motility and to help feed your microbiome. So as long as you're consuming a lot of that, it's going to have a really positive effect on your microbiome. And they're also really good carriers for grass-fed butter. So those fats, again, they can be really good dipped in things like guacamole.
Right.
You can take a lot of different veggies like red cabbage, for example, and dip that right into guacamole, which tastes great. You can do celery, cucumbers in guacamole. So you're getting the fats. And I always tell people, when you have vegetables, always make sure you have fats with it, because fats actually help your body absorb a lot of the antioxidants that you get in the vegetables. So it's a match made in heaven there. It's a great combination, and it will provide the satiety that you need and the nutrient density that you need when you're doing that. So, so yeah, absolutely. And if you're just getting going on a ketogenic diet, typically we'll have you take out fruit other than lemons and limes until you get fully keto adapted. So, and that could be anywhere from 2 weeks to maybe 4 weeks for some individuals. And then from there, you're able to add in just small amounts of fruit and berries and kind of watch your ketone levels, see how you're responding, unless you're trying to cycle out of ketosis. And I know a lot of our other speakers are talking about that. They need to do a little bit higher amounts of fruit. But when you do fruit, the things she talked about, Granny Smith apples, grapefruit, berries, very nutrient rich, low glycemic, low sugar impact. So those are definitely ones that you'll want to go with. Now, how about sweeteners and flour alternatives? Because, you hear it all the time. It's like, I miss my bread.
Yes.
How can I get the same pleasure that I get from bread on this ketogenic journey? Or, I miss my pastries or whatever it is, my ice cream. So what are some of the best sweeteners that won't impact our blood sugar, and flour alternatives as well?
The two best sweeteners are stevia and monk fruit. You can also find monk fruit labeled Lohan, but I think in America it's mostly monk fruit. But both of those will not impact your blood sugar levels, and they actually have some nutrients in them, so they are healthy for you, and they taste delicious. Liquid stevia I add to my coffee. You don't have to worry about stirring it and melting anything, so it combines really easily. You do want to be careful when purchasing both, because a lot of times there's additives, especially the powdered stevia or monk fruit. They add maltodextrin or other things to them. So be careful when buying them. You want them in their whole plant form. So those are the two best sweeteners. For flours, coconut flour. I love to cook with coconut flour. It's tricky when you cook with coconut flour because it is a very dry flour. And I remember seeing some recipes and thinking there is no way you only use a third a cup of coconut flour and 5 eggs and, a lot of liquid, but it actually is how you have to do it with coconut flour because it is a very dry flour. That's my favorite flour to cook with now. And there are just tons of recipes for people that, do want to satisfy themselves with, an alternative to their pastries and desserts on drjockers.com. You'd just be amazed at all the recipes that are on there. So I do encourage you to look for recipes there because you'll find all kinds of desserts made with avocados. My little girl loves to look for recipes, and we make healthy stuff all the time, coconut ice creams and things like that. So there are options. You don't have to be completely deprived while on a ketogenic diet or to eat healthy. That's what I really love to share with people. It's not about deprivation. It's just a change of your lifestyle. And once you feel better, you don't miss it. You just want to keep eating healthy because you feel so good. So, and it's, it's a lifestyle.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the things I really try to provide on drjockers.com is a place where people can go and find these kind of recipes. And, again, like you were talking about, using things like coconut flour. Almond flour is another flour. A lot of people, almond flour is easier to bake with than coconut flour. But I know why you like coconut flour because it's easier on the gut. Mm-hmm. Almond flour, if you're doing a lot of almonds have lectins. It can be a little bit more challenging on the gut. And I see a lot of people have issues with nut sensitivities long-term when they're doing a lot of almond flour. So it is a better idea to use a combination of different types of flours like coconut flour. What's surprising is you can actually make a bread using almond butter too, right? Just actually using the nut butter as well. Or, Maranatha Farms has a coconut almond butter.
Yes, I love that. Yes. Oh, I love that.
Butter. Yes. Yeah, it's so good.
Delicious.
If you haven't seen that, you can find it at most grocery stores in their little health food section. Certainly at, a place like Whole Foods or Trader Joe's, they'll have that. So it's just a combination of coconut butter and almond butter, and it's so good. And so obviously, so you and your daughter have been scanning drjockers.com, looking at recipes and probably
absolutely
sites and figuring them out. And so share with us some of your favorite low-carb ketogenic recipes that you guys have been making at home.
We both love curries. My whole family loves curry, fortunately. So that's one thing. I mean, I just love the coconut milk and the red curry paste, or green. We'll do both. But curries are probably my favorite. We've got 2 great recipes online for a coconut curry and a Thai curry, turkey curry. So both of those are just delicious. And you can add anything to curries. They're so easy. You can make the sauce quickly. You don't really have to add a lot to it. And you can use whatever vegetables you've got on hand or frozen vegetables. Anything's good in curry. So always recommend curry. Another thing are omelets. I love omelets because you can do so much with omelets, and you can have them any time of the day. You can breakfast, lunch, or dinner, you can do an omelet. So just chop up some vegetables, use your pastured eggs, some grass-fed cheese, just delicious. So we do a lot of omelets, and then a lot of, we've got a lettuce wrap taco recipe, and those are delicious. Beef tacos with grass-fed beef. The whole family loves those. I will sometimes use coconut wraps for those. I love coconut wraps, and put some guacamole and some of the taco meat, and it's just delicious. I just challenge you to try these things because you're going to be amazed at how good they are. But those are probably some of my favorites.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're getting me hungry here. And
I know.
the thing about it too is you've got, your boys are 16, is that correct?
They'll be 16 in May.
Yeah, so 15, 16-year-old boys. So it's not like they're not giving you feedback to kind of pepper you up. They're being very real and authentic on what they like and what they don't like.
Right.
So you got to figure out not only recipes that are going to be healthy for you, but also really help recipes that that the boys are going to approve of and consume.
That's like that taco recipe.
Yeah.
I did that last night, in fact. They
That's
love
right.
it. And they don't know a difference. They don't see a difference. And it's delicious.
Yep, absolutely. And when they were young, you really didn't know as much about this.
Oh no, I regret. I mean,
challenge, right? Because a lot of times parents, that's an important topic. Because a lot of times parents are like, I always tell them, hey, if you can get the kids started out right, like with my boys, I mean, my wife and I, we know what we're doing, so we're starting them out right, giving them that really good foundation. The challenge is if you're trying to change things after they've been eating candy and they're just so used to processed sugar and processed foods, and they're 7 or 8 years old, they're going to rebel against it.
Right. When my boys were probably 10 when I started this. And, I wasn't, even when I started, I wasn't as on board as I am now. So it's been a process, and that is a struggle. And, that's one thing that people who work with me always say. They love that I'm real, because I am. I've got 4 kids. I know the struggle. I had kids that fight me on things, and you just got to do what you know is best for them, and they come around. My little girl's a great example, because she had a terrible diet and she had gastrointestinal issues, and once we put her on an elimination diet, she started feeling so much better. Now she's like the health champion in the house. She's just so I love to use her as an example, because if a 10-year-old can give up pizza and dairy to feel better, then adults can, for sure. So it's just once you start feeling better, you're more motivated. But it is hard. I mean, that's definitely a real struggle for people as kids, because they're exposed to all kinds of things at school. And even if you pack healthy for them, I found out my little guy was trading his organic things for other things with other kids. So, the struggle's real, and I understand it.
Yeah, it definitely can be. I know for me and my family, my mom was always into healthier stuff, had her own garden and whatnot. My dad, completely opposite. I mean, he would eat just junk food all day, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, pizza. And so, of course, as kids, we rebelled against my mom and what she was telling us. And my older brother, had acne on his face. And my mom basically just taught me and the rest of my brothers and sisters cause and effect. And she said the reason why he has that is because he's eating all the sugar. Mm-hmm. And so once I had acne and I kind of felt the pain of it, and also looked at it, and obviously I didn't like the way it looked on my face. Right. I was like, okay, if this is sugar is doing this to me, then I'll stop eating sugar. Yeah. Because the pain was more than the pleasure of the sugar. And then later, as I got older, my mom would relate how eating steamed kale, for example, which she would make regularly, and I hated at that period of time. She would relate how that would impact my sports performance. And I was a high school baseball player. And so she was like, this is really good. It's got a lot of calcium and antioxidants and all this kind of stuff in there that's going to help with muscle function and help you perform better. And for me at that time, I was like, anything that's going to help me perform better, I will swallow down. No matter how much I hate it, I want to be a better baseball player. It's worth it. And so I think a big factor with helping kids is finding out what they're passionate about and linking nutrition to helping them either be better at what they're passionate about or avoid something that they don't want. Like in my case, it was acne.
Right, exactly. One of my teenage boys, that's a perfect example of him, because he has totally gone sugar-free to try to, avoid acne. And we also figured out that dairy was an issue for him and his acne. So he's dairy-free and sugar-free, and he'll look at every label to make sure doesn't have any sugar in it. So you're absolutely right. And he's my baseball player too. So he's all about performance. And
so it's really that linking that cause and effect. I think that's the important thing. And most parents aren't doing that. Their kids are either underperforming in school, really just that sometimes the kids feel inferior or just not as smart as other kids. And a lot of it has to do with their blood sugar imbalance, or they're having, physical appearance issues like acne, rosacea, psoriasis, different issues like that. I mean, all these things are so common nowadays, or they're just not performing as well in sports. And so sometimes helping them understand that the nutrition, how they feel their body, is going to help improve their performance, help them look better, feel better, have more confidence, and continually repeating that to them, things start to click, and you'll find kind of like their sweet spot.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So absolutely. And Melissa, it's just been a great interview. Really appreciate you coming on and kind of sharing how you do this. And it's so real because, again, you're a mother of 4, 2 sets of twins, and you've got to figure out how to do this, not just in theory or just because, you do it professionally, but you got to figure out how to do it for a busy, active family. I know your husband, he runs a law firm. Is that correct? So he's really busy, right? Lawyers are some of the most overworked people, as you know.
I know that well, yes.
Yeah, and so you've got to figure all this out for, a family of 6 and, figure out how to get it in your budget. And so, I really appreciate you sharing that wisdom. And anything that you want to leave people with is just kind of some last words of encouragement and empowerment.
Well, pretty much we just want to repeat what I said earlier, that it is doable, and you can overcome health struggles if you really just start eating healthier. I mean, for myself, it was just such a difficult time and a difficult struggle. And so to be on the other side of that, I really just want to offer hope to people that it is possible. And it's worth it. It's worth changing your diet and your lifestyle. And it's, it doesn't have to be difficult. I hope that the tips I gave you for grocery shopping will help, because I know that it can be overwhelming when you go walk into Whole Foods and you see those thousands of products and don't know what to buy. And you sincerely want to eat healthy, but you're just overwhelmed. And so I hope the tips will help, because it is doable, and it's just, start where you can, do what you can, and you'll start seeing benefits from it.
Yeah. And I've seen Melissa really metamorphosize in a sense, because I've been her doctor for, like 9 years now. And so just kind of seeing you develop and break through a lot of limiting beliefs along the way that you could be successful and you could do this. And so I'm super proud of you. And now you're helping other people do that. And you do health coaching with people really all over the world via Skype and just long distance. And so how do people connect with you and find out more about you?
Well, you can look on drdavidjockers.com. If you type in Melissa, I'll come up, and the articles that I've written will come up. You can also email me at melissa@drjockers.com, and that's drjockers.com. And so I hope you'll contact me. I do truly love working with people. It's my heart. I'm a very compassionate person, and I just feel like this is my calling, and I'm so just humbled and proud to be doing it, and just honored to be working with you every day. So thank you for that opportunity.
Absolutely. Well, to me, it's a privilege and an honor to have you on our staff and on our team. And Melissa is a fantastic writer. So if you see her articles, they're awesome. She's a great researcher. She loves to go deep with this. And she is very, very compassionate, just a great health coach. So if you're looking for somebody to kind of help you apply this ketogenic lifestyle and help you reach your health goals, definitely reach out to Melissa. And her email is melissa@drjockers.com. So you can connect with her there and set up a consult and just see if she's a good fit for you. And so if you've been listening to these interviews and you've gotten a lot of value out of this, and you're looking to pursue the ketogenic lifestyle in more depth, then I want to encourage you to check out ordering and owning the whole Keto Edge Summit for yourself. There's tons of bonuses. You'll get access to all these interviews for a lifetime, the transcripts, as well as many different bonuses to help you along your journey. And so if you would consider owning it for yourself, we would be honored, and we will see you on a future interview. God bless you, everybody.